I'd be the last person to advocate drilling off the coast of Oregon. But let's look at what we have done. We have an enormous number of leases in the Gulf tied up by the major oil companies. And if you convert those to use it or lose it leases, so other competitors are in the mix, that would make a difference on the drilling front. But the real answer isn't to pull more carbon out of the ground. The real answer is to proceed to have renewable energy that is not carbon-based. Or if you're going to use carbon that utilizes biomass, which is pulling the carbon out of the air, not creating geological carbon out of the ground and adding to the air surface cycle, which is it's a huge problem. And just to give a sense of this, we have exceeded the balance point for the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, roughly estimated as 350 parts per million of carbon dioxide. We are substantially over. We're at 390 and climbing. Before this recession, we were climbing at 2 parts per million per year. 10 years earlier, we were climbing at 1 part per million. So not only do we have way too much carbon dioxide in the air, but the pace is growing quickly. This has all kinds of threats to the planet. So we should do everything possible in conservation, in solar energy, in potential wave energy, in wind energy, to replace the carbon-based energy economy with a non-carbon-based.
But those technologies are new, they are expensive, and right now they can't compete with fossil fuels. So how would you propose leveling that playing field? Was it through a bunch of subsidies for these new energies?
Well, actually, they can compete. And let me put it this way. When you burn fuel in a car, it's extremely inefficient. It's far more efficient to burn it in a central power center and then distribute the electricity. And even with line losses, you have a much more efficient energy economy. So even if you were thinking you're going to create your electrical energy from carbon, you should still do it at a central place and distribute and fill your tank with electricity, not fill it with oil. Furthermore, you can do a lot more in terms of pollution control in a central setting. But we have seen solar energy come down substantially. Wind energy has come down substantially. So while in some parts of the country they're more expensive than traditional carbon-based electricity, they're getting a lot closer. And in some places they're becoming quite competitive.
So if the economics are there and there's this compelling concern of climate change, why isn't America moving faster?
Well, let me tell you that when you look to policy, you can't just look at the policy itself. You have to look at the power behind different perspectives on the policy. And there's a huge, powerful interest in the oil and coal world that the last thing that they want is for us to move to non-carbon sources. And so their presence is intense. They fund lots of think tanks to come up with lots of arguments not to proceed to non-carbon based. Under Citizens United, they can put enormous amounts anonymously into campaigns across America. And let me just give you a sense of this. If Exxon spent 3% in 2008 of its net profits, it would have exceeded all the dollars spent on the last presidential campaign by all the various parties involved. One company, 3% of net profits. And under Citizens United, it can be done secretively, anonymously. And so it's a very powerful interest. It's reason we need to have discussions across this country about where we're headed and why we need to change the course we're on, because ultimately it's an informed citizenry that is going to create the pushback and allow us to change course.
Have those interests come to you, say, with offers or support, or we'll see. I'll take that as a yes.
Well, certainly I'd take that as a no. No, I think those interests are not coming to me. They're coming to folks they think they can persuade to push back against the courses I'm advocating for.
One of your colleagues, Sheldon Whitehouse, gave a speech on the Senate recently where he said the dark hand of polluters is tapping on so many shoulders in Washington, D.C. And he said nature, God's earth, is also tapping us on the shoulder. Does that fairly accurately describe sort of the dark forces you're talking about?
Well, Sheldon put it quite poetically, but I guess it's a way to say that there's a lot more money in established carbon-based industries than there are in the renewable sector. I think it's our responsibility when we're in public office to advocate for the things that will make the United States stronger, make this world better. And then hopefully, when you run for re-election, you tell people what you've done and you win. Money makes a difference in politics, and so that's why we're having this conversation.